welcome to What Would Larry Do? I am Dr. Ann, and I'm here with Larry Hellwig.
Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here in a really hot, sweaty afternoon in Phoenix.
I know. We're going to hit, 110 to 115 this weekend? So for those of you who are new to Arizona, welcome to hell.
It will be toasty.
Yep. So we have a special guest in the studio with us today. We have Bobblehead Larry joining us for the discussion that we're going to have.
He's been feeling left out. It's like I hear it all the time. He's bitching constantly. Why am I not involved? How come you're not taking me along? You know, I can participate, and when people don't agree with you, you can talk to me, and I will, give you the yes. So anyway, he's here. He's coming along.
He's here to participate.
Yep.
My favorite comment was when you were introducing him to some people and they said, you've really made it when you have a bobblehead of yourself.
Yay. I'm so happy.
I love it. All right. So we've got an interesting topic. We're kind of taking a twist from what we normally do. So a lot of times we're talking about technology and different things like that. But as far as the business aspect goes, I feel like a lot of us who start out as physicians or medical personnel in the industry don't really realize how good of a business person you have to be. And I think something that Larry's always been natural at is actually being a good business person. So we want to talk about strategies for maximizing revenues with patients. So how are you really going to create a successful business, where Larry goes into a lot when he's doing his practice management courses with people about the difference between gross and net. But, really, how are we going to maximize these revenues with our patients? And, we'll just kind of jump right in and start from the beginning because I have a lot of different topics for you guys. But as we know, Larry's an expert on consultations. So
it's a good place to start.
Yeah.
I think that when you look at a consultation and what is involved in a consultation, way too many offices just kind of take it for granted. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I have a 2:00 consult, whatever. And they don't take it as seriously as they should. Mm-hmm. And they don't take the approach that, this is an opportunity to really be able to, go over everything this patient has, get a plan, make a plan for them and help them moving forward. And that patient becomes yours for life.
Yeah.
It's like they're too, I don't know, mundane about it. They're just kind of lackadaisical. Instead of being fired up, excited, here's an opportunity to gain a patient for life.
Yes.
And it's about doing it better. If you can really take that patient and do a rock solid assessment. And I always say that if you do a poor assessment, you kind of get a poor outcome. Mm-hmm. So you have to do quality consultation, because anything less than that means you're leaving something behind. And whatever you leave behind, let's say it's a face, it can be face or body. But if you only talk about the pigment, or you only talk about the fine lines, or you only talk about the texture, you don't cover everything, droopy eyelids, whatever you don't cover is going to look worse when you're done.
Yes.
And it's like, well, why not this? What happened? Why not that? And when you're going over it, that's the perfect opportunity, because they came to you for that. And I think people get, I don't know that I should go into so much, that when they come in and the first consult, maybe I should just, cover a few things that I know they're interested in. So everyone starts with, well, what's bothering you? Mm-hmm. Okay, and a lot of times it starts and finishes with that sentence.
Yes.
What? That may be what's bothering them the most. But what else? If you look in the mirror and you have fine lines, doesn't bother you at all. You have some texture, you have some eye bags or droopy lids, or your forehead, your brows are down. None of that bothers you. you bring it to their attention. They're holding a mirror, and we've got all this cool diagnostic stuff, but a lot of times it's really simple just with a mirror. All the physical aspects of the face. And you take the time to go through that, and you lift the forehead a little bit, and the brows go up, and all of a sudden the eyes are more open, and everything looks good. Do you like that look, or would you prefer what you've got now? I mean, it's real simple. And so if we leave that and don't do a good job, and I think that's the biggest frustration is, and all the consults I've been in all over the country, and I've watched so many people do this, I feel like you are shortchanging that patient badly. It's to not be honest, you know, and sometimes I'm a little brutal in my approach to it, but I'm honest. I mean, seriously.
Brutally honest.
Yeah. I mean, those lines, they got to go. So, I will say stuff about it, but I'm saying it hopefully in a way to get that patient to understand, hey, it does bother me. It's worse now than it was a few years ago. It's bothering me more and more all the time. And can I get rid of this?
Yeah.
And so I think the first thing is, if you're looking for your practice to do well and to make money and have a nice income, that you need to do a good job with your consults, and you need to do a good job with the treatments, or nobody comes back.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. It's just common sense. Do it right, and if you do it to the best of your ability and do it the best it can be done, you don't have competition.
Yeah.
It's always doing it that way. Taking that approach to it, I think, is critical, and I think a lot of people just they're afraid.
Yeah.
They're afraid to go there. They're afraid to say all the things.
Or afraid to ask for the money.
Yeah, that's the other thing. And, if you have a technician doing the consult, and that technician feels that, spending $3,000 on your face is absurd or something like that, well, you've got the wrong person.
Yeah.
Right? So you've got to have those conversations with people, and you've got to have somebody who's going to be okay with it, because to take and make a change that is like as good as the best surgical change. And nowadays you can do that. I don't know that I could say that years ago, very many years ago. But now the technology is to the point where, it's wowing everybody. So you can get a great outcome out of it. I think our biggest mistake is if we don't approach it, whether it's face, body, or both, and you look at every single thing and you go through it with them, and then let them decide how important it is. If they say, no, not at this time, that's okay.
Yeah.
But at least you did it, and they know you could probably fix it, or you wouldn't have brought it up.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's like the dentist, right? So
Yes.
I always tell him, whenever I'm talking with new offices, and I tell him, if you go to a dentist for the pain in your left back molar, they're going to be like, this one needs a root canal, but these other 5 need a filling. Would you like to just do the root canal today, or would you like to do it all? And then they let the patient decide. And I kind of do that in the same way, whereas, okay, so they came in to, let's say, get their lips done. And yes, we can talk about that. And then we can go through everything else that they need for their face. And then it's, where would you like to start? And the other approach that I take with that, or I tell new providers, is sometimes when they're really have gotten more confident to lay the plan out and the patient doesn't know where to begin, start them on something that gets some instant results, or it's the primary thing they came in for. So you get a little bit of wow and you gain their trust. And then you schedule them out for everything else.
Exactly.
So you can still lay out the entire plan, give them the plan, and say, but we're going to start here. So it doesn't have to be that intimidating or overwhelming people. You can lay out this $20,000 plan, but say, we're going to go ahead and put you on the books for a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You'll start with your first photofacial and some Botox on the same day, and they'll immediately see results. The photofacial will clean up the pigment. The Botox or neuromodulator is going to smooth out the lines, and they're going to be like, I want more. And then they're going to go back and look at their plan and remember, okay, that's right. Now I need this, Scarlet RF microneedling, or I need this resurfacing, or I need this filler here, because they've gotten a little taste. You fixed whatever their primary concern was. And like you said, you will leave things on the table.
Yeah.
But once you told them what they need to do about it, they can then go back to the plan and be like, oh yeah, that's right. He said, if I want to get rid of this problem, here's my next step.
Yeah. And so when you write out the plan, and that's the other thing, write the plan out so that it relates to whatever it is, texture, pigment, Now, if the person's in a hurry because they have a wedding next month, maybe it's thread lifts. If you do thread lifts in your practice and you're good at it and you can make that change for them, or maybe it's filler plus threads. What can we do to really alter the structure and the overall look? So you have to take all of the different things into account, the timing, everything. But I think if you do it and you do a good job, everybody's going to be happy.
Yeah.
It's when you shortchange the patient. And by doing so, you're shortchanging yourself.
Yeah.
And again, it's not about collecting a whole lot of money. It's about fixing all the issues in the right sequence over time and just doing a really good job with it. At the very end, at the end of the day, they're going to be so happy, and they have a new look, and nothing crazy happened, and they've gotten exactly what they were hoping to get. And it took some time to get there, but maybe it took 40 or 50 years, 60 years to get where they are now.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's okay. Take your time with it and do a good job.
Yeah. And one of the other things that you briefly mentioned, so I want to run that into our next topic, is that when you have staff and they feel uncomfortable selling, let's say, a $3,000 procedure or $5,000 procedure because they can't believe somebody would pay that much for their face, it's the same person that could be in the wrong seat on the bus. For part of maximizing the revenues is making sure that your staff is okay upselling in the room when it's the proper procedure for the patient. So for example, our patient Sally, she may come in and she's getting a photofacial on her face, and the laser tech should be comfortable enough to say, by the way, we highly recommend you do your neck and chest because the three go together. Would you like to add those on for an additional fee today because I've got enough time to do it? Which at our office, we pretty much only sell face, neck, and chest. So for us, it would be adding on the hands or the shoulders or the arms, or, making sure that the staff is comfortable making recommendations that are appropriate for that person. Because if the patient's already there, and let's say, summertime or, different times they've had a cancellation, there's a little opening. If the patient's there and has the time, why not see if they want to add on an additional treatment since they're already there?
And if the technician has looked at the plan, so the technician's reviewed the plan and also has seen, there's microneedling RF as well. Why don't I do the photofacial and see if she'd be interested in having that because I've got the time?
Yeah.
So we could follow with that, and
Yep.
wow, what a nice outcome that would be.
Yes.
So, whatever it might be, we like to combine laser and photofacial many times. Sciton has a phenomenal device for that, for doing combination therapy called Moxie, and I think we've talked about it before. But you can do photofacial and immediately follow with Moxie, and wow, what an outcome. It is beautiful. It's just a great way to do it. Well, it adds a half hour. That's it. So if you've had a cancellation, or you have some time, or you can squeeze it in, and the technician is alert enough to know that is on the plan anyway,
Yes.
let's add it now. If the patient's got the time and you can get it in, the outcome will be so good. She'll be so excited about it. So, or he, either one. But I just say, make sure everybody has read through that we know what the long-term plan for this patient is. Yeah.
No, and it's just, for me, it's like they're there. If they're already there, sometimes patients are, it's one less trip for them.
Yep.
And if it's something that they're okay doing and planning on doing, or not realizing, I should be doing my neck and chest with my face because I do wear V-necks all the time. Or maybe now it's summertime and I want my arms to match my face, neck, and chest with the sun damage, so that when you're wearing that, tank top and these three are clear of sun, and all of a sudden you look at the arms and you're like, whose arms are those?
So it's exactly that. But that also means, though, that you're looking more at the body.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with doing body consults. In fact,
No.
if you're not doing them, really, why? Now, I mean, sometimes there might be a time issue or something like that, but we schedule about an hour and a half for our consults.
Yeah.
And there are times where they're coming to get me because it's over an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
But, I'm going through everything, and I'm as detailed on the body as I am on the face, and then you make your plan. But the whole thing, it always comes back to at the end, is the patient going to be happy? If you undersell, you underachieve.
Yeah.
If you underachieve, the patient is not the best version of themselves.
Yep.
And so I think, why go there? Why would you do that when you can have so much more? So our approach to it is, and then the patient can go at what pace they want to, within reason.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it might be financially, spread it out a little longer, anything like that. That's okay. Give it a little bit of time. But if they can do it on our schedule of every 4 weeks or 5 weeks or something like that, I think they're very happy with that.
Yeah.
It's a good approach.
And, they're there. They obviously want to look better. And I always, try to remind the laser technicians who sometimes maybe feel a little uncomfortable making recommendations that you are the expert. The person who is typically in your chair does not know a lot about skin. Even if you're not a physician, you were trained in skin, you were trained in lasers, you know how to make it better and healthier, and you know if it's appropriate for their skin type and what they're doing, so it's okay to make a recommendation. You are the expert, and remind yourself of that. They're not coming here because they're bored and they have nothing else to do. Right. They're coming because they want to look better, and a lot of times they don't know what they need, so your job is to really tell them.
And if it's not in the consultation notes, or it got missed, or whatever the situation, that's a great opportunity for the technician to be able to talk about it.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is, in busy offices or big practices, you tend to add more technology. Mm-hmm. Well, from the time of the consult to you're now on your third treatment out of 7 or 8, maybe you have some other technology. What a great opportunity to bring that up and talk about what it can do and what it can do for the patient and add to the overall outcome. Yeah. So it's, again, it all makes sense for everybody up and down the line to be able to sell.
Yep. And besides services, it's also skincare.
Yes.
Which is funny because I would have to say that this is like my weakness zone about making recommendations for skincare, even though I love it and I'm a skincare junkie. Like my face wash, my green tea serum, my moisturizer, my Retin-A, my neck cream, my eye cream, I do not go without them.
Oh, just shoot me.
Right. And he probably doesn't do any of this. My sunscreen. I have my whole, thing, and I won't go without it. I won't use anything else. I am addicted to them. But the sad thing is, I think I'm the worst at making recommendations. I just forget to do it. And I love it. And I truly believe in it. And I think patients need to do it. And I have to remind myself to get better at that because I think it's an important part. It's like brushing your teeth after you leave the dentist. They need to be using quality skincare. They don't need to be using, crappy, I bought it at some drugstore and it has, all kinds of parabens and other nasty ingredients in it.
Yeah, that's true. I do not.
I don't even want to talk about your skincare regimen because I don't want you to embarrass yourself. We're just not going to go there.
We won't go there. I try. Look, I've tried, and there are at times, where I'm actually pretty faithful to it. And,
your son has a much more impressive skincare regimen than you do.
He is so good.
He is so good.
He's diligent.
And he loves the products.
Yes.
Because he knows they work. It's funny. There's something about it when you get on the right products for your skin, it's a game changer. That's the way I am with mine. With my ABI products, and then, so it's ABI, Aven, Elastin. I'm addicted to all three. My certain things that I have to have, I don't go without them.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I try.
But I think that's why you and I are both weak on selling the products. Yeah. You don't really do it. For me, I just forget about it. I get so excited about the technology or the injections or everything else that they're doing that I forget to be like, oh yeah, by the way, you should probably be washing your face before you go to bed. we're in Arizona, we're in the dry desert, so you need to be putting on a hydrating serum. We need to get a moisturizer on there, you know, all the different things that go into it. And I forget about it. And like for me, eye creams, I'm a junkie around the eyes because that area ages so fast that I will not go without my eye cream.
So that's the reason my lids are getting a little heavy.
That you have, you know, saggy skin that stands out like a little teepee when I pull on it. We could demonstrate that for our viewers if you want me to pull on your eyelids.
It's so painful.
He does this to people all the time, so he deserves to get it back a little bit. So
it is something that I do have to pay more attention to. Absolutely. I need to get some treatments.
And you need to start using that Elastin eye cream. I am telling you, it is the best. Out of all of them that I use, I absolutely love it. So, and they're not paying me to say that. I actually have to buy their products in order to sell them to my patients. But I do actually believe in it. The science is behind it. The product feels good. Anybody I've turned on to it loves it. So I'm a true believer in that eye cream.
How many guys are using eye cream?
I don't know, but I have a few because the most random thing, as you bring that up, a lot of men I have on my schedule are eye patients. They come in, their first complaint is around here. So I don't get men for too many other things. A little bit of photofacial, mostly hair, right? A little bit of Botox. But if they're doing anything else, the first thing I always get is around the eyes.
Well, it's absolutely a good idea. I am going to ponder it. And no, I will incorporate it. I need to do some treatments in that area, and I need to get some skincare.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I do.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, I'll quit giving Larry grief, and I'll get us back on track. I think another place that offices really miss with increasing your revenues is when your patient is finished with whatever their series is, or if they're just in for their Botox and they're getting ready to leave, that you should be automatically putting them on the schedule for their next treatment. Whether you're making a recommendation for what's next, so let's say they finish their series of photofacials, and again, if it goes back to the plan that for us that Larry has drawn up, and our tech says, okay, I see that you were scheduled for 4 photofacials, this is number 4, you look great. You know, I saw that next on your plan was, you know, the RF microneedling, or the Moxie, or the Halo. Would you like to go ahead and get that scheduled? Have we talked about a plan yet? And just throw it out there, because sometimes patients forget, or they think they're done, and they, you know, still have something bothering them, but they forgot what you told them. It's also your job to remind them and get them on the books.
I agree. I think it's too easy to just do our thing. We do our treatment, and you know, you collect the money, and they go. You know, I think we need to make sure we're always checking the plan, and we're always referring to the plan. And we're always asking the patient about how it's coming for them. Are they noticing the changes? All that type of stuff. And every once in a while you can get photos or something to show them differences if you like. But I think the plan is the key, but never be afraid to talk about other things along the way.
Yep.
I think that's huge. And the better you get at it, all of a sudden you're selling all these other procedures. And I remember I had an esthetician once upon a time who, I mean, if I forgot something, she would just, it would be automatic. You know, she just knew this should be part of this, and this patient would really benefit from this. And it's all things that are going to make a nice difference.
Yes.
And so you can do it as a team. You can do it however you want. You might be solo. You might have other people. But everybody should be doing it the same way.
Yeah.
So I think that's good.
No, I absolutely do. And I think people forget that, you know, again, our patients want to know. They want to know what the next step is. They don't always know what they need. And so it's our job to guide them. And that's why before they leave, you know, for me, it's kind of easy because my schedule does get very busy. So my, you know, neuromodulator / Botox and filler patients know that they better book their next appointment before they leave. Otherwise, when it comes time for them in 3 to 4 months, if they call them in, I'm booked out by a month or 2. And so now they're going to be way pushed out. So a lot of them automatically book before they leave because they know. But I think sometimes when we finish the big ones, where I've got 2 categories that my patients fit into, where I feel that this is really important, is The first one I want to talk about is when we do a full correction, whether I'm doing an Agnes or a deep resurfacing and we get done and it's the wow factor, what's their next step? The other side that then I'll bring us back around to is our young millennials. When we get them in and we know there's not much that they need to do, what is the proper recommendation for them? So first, let's talk about, let's say, for example, like deep resurfacing. You and I do a full field erbium. We do face, neck, and chest. We take 15 years off of our patient. You know, we have our scheduled follow-ups where we see them every other day in the first 2 weeks. Then I like to see them at 4 weeks, at 6 weeks, and take pictures at 3 months. When we get to 3 months, what do you like to do with the patients as far as recommendations of what's next?
I think the key is number one, we should have already done it, but if not, maybe review with the patient how it works for the long term.
Yes. Yep.
You know, the locomotive going
Yep.
down. You know, it's your skin has stopped aging now. You know, it was aging quickly because as we get older, that's what happens. And what we did is we not only slowed the train down or the locomotive down, but we stopped it. We actually backed it up maybe 15 years. So now are you going to be content that way for the next, 5, 10, 15 years? And so that's where the problem resides, is that many people feel like, okay, I've done my correction. I don't need anything else. I'm good. I'm good. So, this is where you really need to educate them about the problems associated with just stopping, because your skin is now acting younger than it has in many, many years.
Yeah.
What a great opportunity to make that even more.
Yeah.
To do even more with it. So the correction you've got can be enhanced. And that's why we call it an enhanced program.
Yeah.
Rather than maintenance, because at this point it's not maintenance. It's really much more enhancement, because you are anti-aging so fast at this point, and maybe you just have a little redness from the treatment. You have this, that, do a photofacial, but just get into a program of every 3, 4 months, 6 months, whatever you can do, but that you don't stop, that you continue to do something so that you never have that reversal going on and that you're aging again. Let's keep the anti-aging train going and backing up your skin age year by year by year by just having you continually do just a few things.
Yep. And I agree. And that was one of the topics that I was going to bring us to, is that loyalty programs, or where we call ours enhancement, where you can get patients signed up where they're paying a monthly fee. They get certain treatments included as part of that, and or discounts on others, but it keeps revenue coming in monthly, where it's easier for the patients because it's a smaller amount. They get something with it, and it guarantees them coming in the door, because when they've already paid for it, they are going to show up and use it. That is one of the biggest things that I can tell you with, loyalty programs, or what we call our enhancement programs, is that they know it's free, it's in there, they're going to use it. They don't want to let it expire. They want to take advantage of it. And then once they're in the door, you make recommendations for other things, because the more often you get them in your door, the more things they will buy.
Well, the other thing too is, let's take the 50 to 60-year-old that you resurface. You've just taken 15 years off the face. How does the body look by way of contrast?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, let's not forget the body, and you could be doing little things and little suggestions along the way, but now incorporate, the arms, incorporate more with the stomach. I mean, if you've had children, why not tighten up the belly? Okay? The everything that's happened to your face is also happening to your body, and why not keep everything together in the same decade? And don't just forget the body. Do some little things along the way with that too. And again, so many offices have body technology, but they don't do body consults.
Yes.
And I don't understand. I mean, why aren't you doing a body consult on a patient who would really benefit? And there's always situations, and I have the same thing where I know it's not appropriate at this time. It's really a face consult. That's what they want. However, as you are working on the face, this is where the technician can bring up stuff. Did you know we have a special going now that allows you to have this plus this, and you're coming in here anyway? What if we were to incorporate, and you could start doing, working on, areas of your body that you may have some interest in? Does that sound good to you? And I think most patients would like everything
Oh,
if
yeah.
they could.
I want everything.
We all want everything.
I just never have the time for it.
So it's just how to build that, in a way that makes common sense. It's a very sensible approach to it. And again, just like the face, it didn't all show up this way, overnight. It took 60 years or whatever. So same thing with the body. Just take a nice, easy approach and start with what's bothering them the most. You might have one area or two areas that have always drove you crazy. It was like, I've never liked my thighs, or I don't like my stomach. I have 4 kids, whatever, and it's never been the same. Okay, pick the area or a couple areas that you don't like, and then make a plan for those areas, just like for the face.
Yeah.
And just take it step by step.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, and the other, group that I really like to focus on and talk about are our millennials, right? So we have this younger population.
Yes.
We've got some people in their 20s, some 30s, their early 40s. But really, I'm thinking about our 20-year-olds and our 30-year-olds, right? So there's this new younger generation who is actually very interested in self-care. They're on social media a lot. They're posting selfies of themselves a lot. They want their skin to look good. They're ready to commit and start doing. And what I'm always telling, new offices when I am speaking at different conferences and things is, don't forget about them. Because sometimes people are focused on the big picture. My 65-year-old that needs the full field erbium resurfacing and then is going to need all these treatments afterwards and need all this neuromodulator and all this filler. And I'm like, yes, your younger crowd is going to be your little stuff at first. A little bit of neuromodulator, possibly just some facials, possibly an RF microneedling once or twice a year, or a photofacial once or twice a year.
Right.
The thing is if you get them started on their skincare program, which is maybe just once or twice a year because they're in their 20s, you do this once a year or maybe twice and begin your anti-aging journey. Let's take care of your skin. Let's keep your pores small. Let's keep a little bit of neuromodulator in there to prevent lines. You're developing a relationship with them, which is like a hairdresser. So I feel like guys are different, but as a woman, I can't just pick any hairdresser on any corner anywhere and show up and go and get my hair done because things can go wrong, right? So a lot of times as ladies, when we find our hairdresser, we stick with them. And if they get sick and have to cancel us out by a month, we will wait. And we will wait with bad looking hair until they get better, and then we will go back.
Do it then. That's right.
So if you start taking this younger population and doing little things with them that aren't scary, but developing the relationship, they trust you. And as they continue to age over the next 10 to 15 years, you now have somebody who is going to be spending a lot. But guess what? They'll come to you because they know you, they trust you, and it's their face, which is also scary just to go to random people. So it's a good investment to begin generating that relationship, so planting the seed for the long term.
It's interesting because many, many, many years ago, a company that we had their technology, and they asked me to give a talk in Paris on body contouring, and it was a body contouring device. And I'm over there, and the people from France and other countries were all at this big meeting. And what was so interesting is the people that were coming in from Europe, they were talking about how they use the technology versus how we use it. We do one treatment a week, and we do 4 or 5 treatments, and we're kind of done, and we charge quite a bit of money for that treatment. And in Europe, they were starting these people at very young ages, and they would do different areas even if they didn't need much at all. And they were charging less, but they would come in, frequently, like 2 or 3 times a month, all year. And it was like, because I couldn't understand how they were doing so many treatments. Well, that was how. They were doing everybody, and they were starting at young age. the girls, and that's what they were talking about, is how they were coming in at a very young age, doing these body treatments, and it was just totally socially acceptable that you start out at a much younger age with the facials and all the other stuff. But also when body stuff came out and was getting exciting and people were getting into it, how they were incorporating that into their routine at a very young age.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean, the millennials, why not? And so again, it might be facial stuff, but maybe they want this really flawless body, or they want a hard body. They're in shape and they want to continue that. And there's technology. We have M-Sculpt Neo, and it's fabulous for that. But you can also do skin tightening. You can do all kinds of things for cellulite and what have you. So again, you can start at a young age and do a little bit of that, and things never seem to go in the wrong direction. Yeah. So I think that's important too. It's again face and body for young and old.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
And then one of our other topics for maximizing revenue with patients, Larry's going to give me grief about this one because I think this is the one that he always gives me a hard time about, that I push back, but he is right. You're not going to hear me say that too many times, but it's increasing your prices, and possibly by a little bit every year. So Larry, how do you feel about that?
Well, I agree. I think it's one of these things where you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, but you're not going to do anyone any good if you're not around.
Yes.
So if you just start with that premise, I mean, things happen in business. The reason why the majority of businesses go bankrupt is because it's not as easy as everyone thinks. There's a lot to it, and there's a very small percentages of businesses do really well. And so, that you have to be around, and you have to buy new technology. And the technology today is substantially more expensive than it was years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And we always thought it was going to go the other direction, and that the new technology would come out and it'd be less expensive and all that. No, it's the opposite. It's quite expensive now. And if you're going to give your patients the best results, you need literally the best technology that's available. And so you have to be able to get that technology. And so a lot of times you can, increase your fees for treatments by $25 or $50.
Yep. Which is small.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things.
It's not. And, nobody wants to have a price increase for anything, period. No. We get that. But on the other hand, a small incremental increase like that can make such a huge difference to your clinic. At the end of the year, what does that represent? Maybe, $200,000 or $300,000. All of a sudden, you can get that technology that you really want. You're in a better position to be able to do things.
Well, and it's an increase to your net, not just your gross, because you're taking the same procedure that you were already going to do in that same room with that same technician for that same amount of time, and you're just adding an extra $25 or $50.
Yep.
If you did that for every hour throughout the day, even in just an 8-hour day, let's say if you added $50, that would be an extra $400 for that day.
That's if you have just one room.
Exactly. That's if you have one room. So that would be an extra $400 per day, which is technically an extra $2,000 for that week, which then comes out to like $100,000 for the year.
Yeah.
So
you can generate. I did the math on doing. If you see 20 patients a day, now I did the math some time ago. So, but I think if you're seeing 20 patients a day and you're open year round, that $50 increase represented like $250,000-300,000 a year, something like that. And you can check that, but it is substantial enough that it's worthwhile, because you do have to compete. I don't care how good you are, how good your technique is, how good all of it is that you've got. If you don't have all the toys that somebody down the street has,
Yeah.
it's just a matter of time. You know, you're going to be challenged. And so we want you to be around. We want you to do well. Don't be afraid of the little things, you know, the $25, the $50. That's not going to change things. I don't think your patient's not going to keep coming to you because there was a little raise. We haven't seen it. I don't think you would either.
No.
So I think it's important.
Yeah. So don't undersell yourselves too. I think a lot of people are afraid to ask for the money, so they want to sell procedures for cheap, when the actuality is you should be charging what they're worth, and your time is worth money. If you are a physician, your time is worth money because you are expensive, you are an expert. If you are a nurse, your time is worth money. And still, if you're a top quality laser technician, esthetician, your time is worth money. So don't sell yourself short that you're not worth it. And that's where I agree with you. That's where sometimes you do just have to increase the price, because if you have the top quality technology and you are well trained, then you are worth that price. And it's just reminding yourself of that, you know. In our goal, and the reason why Larry and I get along so well in practice is because our desire is to do the best we can and give the patients the best results. So we're not just trying to sell them things they don't need. We want to sell them the right procedures, and we are going to work as hard as we can to make sure that they get the results that they're looking for and make them happy. And that's why our patients stick with us. And I feel like that's what a lot of practitioners are doing. You're not trying to rip your patients off. You're not trying to scam them. You truly are trying to give them what they're coming for. Right. So don't be afraid to charge for it.
Yeah, you have to get that because, well, I mean, have any of your costs gone up this year?
Yeah, gas was $6.20 a gallon when I went to fill up this morning. I don't even want to talk about how expensive it was to fill my car up.
Mine was $125.
$6.20 a gallon. Yeah, I think some things have gone up in price.
It's gone up, but you know, in your clinic, right?
Yeah, well, that was my next thing that we're going to quite get into is to maximize profits. Sometimes you have to figure out how to cut costs because, gloves.
Everything's gone up.
Yeah.
I know we have someone in our office that does all our ordering for us.
Yep, Bill, you're getting your shout out today.
Here you go, Bill. He was the commander of the Air Guard and then made adjutant general for the state of Arizona. And he's been with me now forever. Like, he hated the politics of adjutant general, so he quit. And he just about drove himself crazy at home.
Yeah.
Or his wife crazy at that time, who knows? But, you know, he couldn't do the home thing. And so, you know, we found a position for him, and that was 20 years ago or thereabouts.
Yeah. And we can't function without him.
Yeah, and he you know, he does all the ordering and all the shipping and all that kind of stuff. But so the example is gloves, but lidocaine, any of these things, the cost has gone up so much.
Credit card processing fees.
Yeah, that's another one. I mean, if you take and look at what your cost to do business is now versus a couple years ago, you will find that you've taken a big hit.
Yes.
And when you just look at one thing, it's like, okay, I can deal with this. But, you know, in business, you have to look at the big picture. You have to look at every detail that makes up the big picture. And at the end of the day, it is about what is your net profit.
Yes.
Your revenue can be sky high. I mean, you can have huge, huge numbers, but that's a story. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't count for anything. The only thing that you get and that you get to spend is net.
Yeah.
And so what are you actually ending up with? And if you don't have that, if there's not real net there, you're not going to be around. It's, you know, so you got to be careful.
So don't be afraid to call around and price match and to call and ask, can you beat this price, right?
Yep.
That's one of the things that we're lucky that we have Bill, because you know, when gloves started getting really expensive during COVID, he and I were like, seriously, it's gone from $11 a box to $30. We're like, no. So one of the things he did is he got on the phone and he started looking anywhere that we could buy gloves that were quality, that were the kind that we wanted, and said, what is your price for this? What is your price for this? Do you have a better price than this? He ended up finding us gloves that are almost the same price that they were originally and got that price all the way back down. Now, he had to put some effort in it, But if you have the opportunity to have somebody in your office that can do that, same thing with credit card processing fees. You know, you don't have to just be stuck with that one. Be careful who you sign on with. You know, you can call around to different places, which, you know, Dina did that for us to find somebody who had better fees, because you have no idea how much money is going out the window with that. Sometimes when I see that number, I'm like, really? Like, really?
Every month, that, you know, it's huge.
Lots of money in credit card processing fees. And, you know, then the products that you're using, you know, too, you know, like Botox, for example. There are different competitors out there sometimes that can beat their prices. That's why a lot of us, even though we use the word Botox like Kleenex, don't end up using Botox as much, because the other competitors work just as well, whether it's Jeuveau or Xeomin or Dysport, but the price is less. And then our patients can get a price cut on it, and it's more affordable for them, so more people can do it. It's trying to figure out where you can cut the costs appropriately, you know, and get better deals on things so that that increases your net.
Last year, and in fact, even this year, thanks to Tave and Dina, they started going through, and they have eliminated so many fees and so many things we were paying every month.
That we have no idea what they were.
Didn't even know what they were.
Yeah.
You know, over the years, you just accumulate all these contracts and all these different things, and you forget. You know, it's like it's busy. Everybody's busy. There's a gazillion things, and at the time, it seems like a good idea. And then you're getting billed every single month for $200 here, $100 there, or 60 or 300, whatever, and it adds up. And so every little thing needs to be looked at. The price you're paying for your gloves, the lidocaine, the everything. And if you don't think that makes a big difference, over 12 months, it is huge. And, you know, again, if you're not happy with your neurotoxin price, shop around.
Yeah.
See, figure out what you have to do. Is there another one? We did that, and I believe that we are paying about half of what we were paying. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so if you're paying half...
By ordering it legally, by the way. Because using a different provider.
That's
we
right.
are not one of those that goes and buys it illegally.
That's right.
Okay. Sorry. Just had to throw that out there.
Thank you. Yes. And so, you know, it wasn't, it's not, everybody thinks all that is going to be so profitable, but it's not that profitable. You know, you really have to get deals to be profitable with neurotoxins and some of the fillers and things. So you have to be careful with that. And there's a lot of offices that have just stopped. They don't want to deal with it anymore because it wasn't that profitable. So if you're going to do it, then find a better way to do it. See if you can't negotiate. Can you buy something else in volume? Can you do it in a way that your patients get more money back? You know, that's up to you. You need to look.
Yep. But there definitely needs to be somebody in the office, whether it's you as the business owner, somebody who starts looking at the cost. And this is always something that Larry has hated over the years, but it's something that we do is every month we have to look at the numbers. We look at what we brought in, we look at what our expenses were, and we go through this and we comb through this and we ask questions and we look at things, because if you're not measuring it, then you have no idea what's happening and things start to slip through. And that's where when you can look, all of a sudden you're like, we spent how much on gloves? Why was that? And then start, you know, figuring out a way, is there a better way to do it? So that's one of the top ways to maximize your revenues without having to do a lot of heavy lifting or charging more or gaining new patients, you know.
This is part of, you know, running and owning a business, and most of us had to learn this the hard way.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like, oh yeah, well this is automatic. You just put the business on automatic pilot, it'll do fine. It's not like that at all. And so understand that if you have been doing that from the very beginning, congratulations to you. Because most of us were not, you know, and over time you start looking at more and more details and you find better ways to do things. And same thing with technology, you know, shop around, find out what's hot, what's really working, what's making a big difference out there, and then what kind of deal can you get, you know? You know you get a tax break at the end, so if you need a financial benefit in taxes. Section 179 is very good for practices. And so usually come November of each year, you start getting a real good picture as to what your liability might be. And that's a good time to start negotiating on technology that you might want. So we look at it that way about same time every year and say, okay, do we need anything? This is our liability. Do we need anything? And it kind of goes against that liability a little bit. So you can get some definite benefit that way. And if you negotiate strong with companies, the end of the year, of course, they want to sell.
Yep.
Everybody does.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, I think we are coming to the end of our time.
All right.
Any last words of advice for them as far as maximizing revenues with your existing patients?
Well, I think it's all in the details, you know, and I've done this for many years. I've never been good at it, and I hate that all the little nitty gritty details associated with it. I can't stand it. For me, it's like doing social media. The other thing I can't stand.
I know, me either.
It's not my thing, you know? And so, but make sure you've got somebody in your office where it is their thing and they can look at it. But also, if you get a system that you've got more than one person looking at it, like if Ann and I are both looking at it, if our accountant Dina's looking at it, if Dave's looking at it, if we've got some people with eyeballs on this and we're seeing areas where we can make a change or would help us financially, well, that's it. You know, that's the key. So it's usually not the one thing, the one big thing that makes the difference. It's a whole lot of little things.
Yes, it is. I absolutely agree with that.
And every aspect that you change affects every aspect within your practice. And so you want things to go better and you want things to go positive and go in the right direction for you. Start with one thing and that ripple effect is very positive and you'll see other things go the same way.
Perfect.
Yep.
Well, good. Well, I think that's going to wrap us up for today. So thank you all for joining us and we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.